Breaking. Sangwa opens up on Lungu's legacy. I'd have welcomed his endorsement. John Sangwa, a man known for his sharp mind and fearless criticism, has just said something no one saw coming. In a stunning twist, he revealed that he would have welcomed an endorsement from the late former President Edgar Lungu. For many Zambians, that single statement changed everything. Was it respect for a leader he once opposed? Or a strategic move ahead of 2026? Inside the corridors of Lusaka's political power, Sangwa's words have ignited new whispers about alliances, strategy, and the legacy of a man whose influence refuses to fade, even in death. Tonight, we go deeper, because what Sangwa just said might reshape Zambia's political map forever. Welcome to InspirAfrica Official, where we uncover the truth behind Africa's most powerful political stories. In this episode, we break down John Sangwa's jaw-dropping revelation about Edgar Lungu's legacy, and why he says he would have welcomed the former president's endorsement. The timing couldn't be more critical. With Zambia's 2026 elections drawing near, the Patriotic Front remains divided, and the Lungu family's shadow still looms large. What does Sangwa's statement reveal about the hidden forces shaping Zambia's opposition? Stay tuned, because this isn't just about one man's opinion. It's about loyalty, power, and the political ghost of Edgar Lungu that still haunts Zambia's future. A stunning revelation from John Sangwa has reignited Zambia's political debate. In this episode, we analyze his statement about former President Edgar Lungu's endorsement, and what it reveals about the hidden power dynamics shaping the Patriotic Front, PF, and the 2026 elections. Is this the beginning of a new alliance or just a respectful nod to a political giant? Watch as InspirAfrica Official breaks down the truth behind the headlines. Subscribe for more in-depth political documentaries and analysis from Zambia and across Africa. The statement that shocked Zambia. It was the confession that no one, not even his closest allies, saw coming. John Sangwa, one of Zambia's most respected and controversial legal minds, has always been known for his boldness. A fearless constitutional lawyer, a sharp critic of corruption, and an unwavering defender of judicial independence, Sangwa has never minced his words. But this time, his words carried a tone that caught everyone off guard. Speaking during an exclusive interview that aired on national television, Sangwa looked calm and reflective. When asked about his past clashes with former President Edgar Lungu, he paused, then said the unthinkable, "If Edgar Lungu had endorsed me, I would have welcomed it." The statement sent shockwaves through Zambia's political landscape. For years, Sangwa had been one of Lungu's harshest critics, accusing his administration of undermining the constitution and attempting to consolidate power. So, how could the same man now claim he'd have accepted Lungu's endorsement? Within minutes, the internet caught fire. Supporters of the Patriotic Front, PF, celebrated the remark as proof that even their critics now recognized Lungu's influence. UPND supporters, meanwhile, dismissed it as opportunism. On X, formerly Twitter, hashtags like #SangwaSpeaks, #LunguLegacy, and #ZambiaPolitics began trending as citizens debated the meaning behind the statement. Some argued that Sangwa was showing political maturity, acknowledging that even rivals can have moments of greatness. Others called it strategic positioning, suggesting Sangwa may be testing the waters for a new political role ahead of 2026. Whatever the motive, one thing was clear. Sangwa's words had reignited a national debate not just about Edgar Lungu's legacy, but about Zambia's ability to move beyond old divisions and embrace a new era of political dialogue. From fierce critic to measured respect. To truly grasp the magnitude of John Sangwa's recent statement, you have to revisit his long and often turbulent history with Edgar Lungu. For nearly a decade, Sangwa stood as one of the fiercest critics of the former president's leadership, challenging not just his policies, but the very foundation of his legitimacy. When Lungu sought what many described as an unconstitutional third term, it was Sangwa who led the legal and moral resistance. His fiery public speeches and court submissions made him a symbol of defiance, a man unafraid to confront power, even when it meant personal risk. In 2020, his name was struck off the list of lawyers allowed to appear before the Constitutional Court, accused of disrespecting the bench. Many believe the move was retaliation for his bold criticism of how the judiciary had handled Lungu's eligibility case. At that moment, Sangwa became both a hero and a target. So now, years later, hearing that same man say, "If Edgar Lungu had endorsed me, I would have welcomed it," feels almost surreal. But those close to him say this isn't contradiction, it's reflection. Following Lungu's death, Zambia has been going through what some call a season of reckoning. Old rivalries are fading, and figures once defined by political battles are reevaluating their shared legacy. For Sangwa, this may be part of a broader realization that while Lungu had flaws, he also made contributions to Zambia's governance and democratic journey. As one analyst put it, Sangwa is not praising Lungu the politician. He's acknowledging Lungu the historical figure. There's a difference, and in that difference lies something rare in Zambian politics: grace after conflict, and a recognition that history often judges more fairly than politics ever can. The real message? Endorsement means dialogue. When John Sangwa made the statement, "If Edgar Lungu had endorsed me, I would have welcomed it," it wasn't merely a reflection of changing political winds. It was, according to those close to him, a deliberate signal, a carefully worded message about the kind of politics Zambia needs right now. Sources familiar with Sangwa's thinking suggest that his words were not about personal admiration for Lungu, but about the principle of dialogue. For years, Zambia's political landscape has been defined by polarization: UPND versus PF, loyalty versus survival, justice versus revenge. Sangwa, who has long stood at the intersection of law and politics, appears to be urging the nation to break free from that cycle. He's been emphasizing to friends and colleagues that democracy cannot be sustained on hostility and historical grudges. "Our democracy can't survive on anger," he once remarked in a university lecture. "We must learn to listen, even to those we once opposed." That sentiment, many analysts argue, lies at the heart of his latest statement. By suggesting he'd have accepted Lungu's endorsement, Sangwa may be advocating for a new political culture, one that values respect over rivalry and dialogue over division. The message lands at a critical moment. Zambia remains sharply divided, with PF supporters still feeling targeted and UPND loyalists unwilling to forgive the past. Sangwa's remarks, therefore, resonate as a quiet appeal for reconciliation, an invitation to imagine a Zambia beyond partisan hatred. But it might also be a strategic chess move. Political observers note that Sangwa could be carefully positioning himself for a broader leadership role, one that transcends the courtroom and enters the political arena. In that sense, his statement may be both idealistic and tactical. The Lungu family reacts. We see wisdom in his words. Inside the Lungu family circle, John Sangwa's unexpected remarks landed like a quiet but powerful breeze of relief. For the first time in months, those closest to the late former president felt the national conversation shift. Not toward blame or scandal, but toward reflection and, perhaps, reconciliation. Sources close to Esther Lungu reveal that the former First Lady received Sangwa's words with both surprise and gratitude. For her and the family, it wasn't just about political vindication, it was about the restoration of dignity. Since Edgar Lungu's passing, the family has been quietly working behind the scenes to reshape how the public remembers him. Their focus, insiders say, has been on promoting unity, forgiveness, and understanding rather than fueling political conflict. This is what we've been waiting for, one PF insider confided. For respected figures like Sangwa to acknowledge that President Lungu's leadership, though imperfect, had purpose, and that not every decision he made deserves condemnation. Within PF circles, Sangwa's remarks are being interpreted as a moral breakthrough, a sign that even former critics are beginning to recognize Lungu's human side and the pressures he faced in office. To many of Lungu's supporters, it's proof that time is healing old wounds and allowing for a more balanced view of his legacy. Political analysts say this could also mark a subtle turning point for the Patriotic Front itself. If PF can rebuild bridges with figures like Sangwa, respected beyond party boundaries, it may find a pathway to national relevance again, grounded in reconciliation rather than resistance. Yet not all are pleased. Some UPND supporters accuse Sangwa of rewriting history to sanitize Lungu's controversies. But regardless of opinion, one truth stands clear. Sangwa's statement has reignited a long-suppressed national conversation about who Edgar Lungu Tr. The legacy debate, redemption, or revisionism. As the dust settles on John Sangwa's shocking statement, Zambia once again finds itself grappling with an old but unresolved question. What is Edgar Lungu's true legacy? For some, Lungu's years in power remain synonymous with controversy. Allegations of corruption, a struggling economy, and a constitutional crisis that almost tore the nation apart. His critics remember the arrests, the intimidation of opponents, and the fear that crept into the public space during his tenure. To them, Sangwa's comments risk glorifying a man they believe set Zambia's democracy back. Yet, for others, especially those who lived through the tense transition years, Lungu was a stabilizer. He guided the nation through difficult times, managed to maintain relative peace, and upheld Zambia's image as one of Africa's most stable democracies. His defenders argue that he inherited deep structural problems and tried his best to govern under immense pressure. Sangwa's recent remarks have reignited this delicate national debate, forcing many to confront uncomfortable truths. Was Lungu the villain his opponents painted him to be? Or was he simply a flawed leader trying to navigate impossible political terrain? Political analyst Joseph Mbu told InspirAfrica official, Lungu's story isn't just about his presidency. It's about how Zambia chooses to remember its leaders. Sangwa's words remind us that history should be examined with honesty, not hatred. We can criticize and still acknowledge a leader's contributions. Now, the question becomes, will Sangwa's tone of reconciliation set a new trend in Zambia's political culture? One that embraces maturity over vengeance? Or will it reopen old wounds as the nation heads toward the crucial 2026 elections? One thing remains certain. Even in death, Edgar Lungu's name continues to define Zambia's political identity. A reminder that legacies never truly die, they evolve.